Good afternoon to my esteemed colleagues and some of my faves. I won't say that that's not anyhow, so welcome to our discussion this afternoon around the Latino, Hispanic culture, and we want to just kind of jump in there and just really say that our intention is to really discuss the different stories and what uniquely makes this culture. I think what's interesting as we were doing some of the research, I was thinking, there's so many things that I can identify with as someone who has a rich culture background in not just stories, but the experiences and the many experiences I'm sure we share. So tonight, I thought it would be helpful, would be beneficial for us to just kind of spend a few minutes kind of just talking through and sharing those things, and then asking some relevant questions as to some of the experiences that you've had as of late and how that has really impacted the Latino and Hispanic culture. Now, I'm kind of learning things myself, so I am going to ask questions. You might think she should know that, and I do. I know definitions, but I'd like to kind of hear just what you can bring to it for us tonight as we discuss that. Patty, I know originally we said we kind of dropped the bios, the official bios in the chat, but what we'd like to do is kind of have you introduce yourself. Just take like a minute, tell us something that, a little bit about yourself that can not just speak to why you're here this afternoon, but also what makes you uniquely you, because I think it's always important before we begin to have some of that in the atmosphere, just to kind of get people to know you a little bit. All right, so I'm gonna be quiet and then just ask you at your leisure to kind of just speak to that question. Just a little bit, small introduction, and then just a little bit about what you believe makes you uniquely you.
Well, I think I probably have the least to communicate in terms of bio, because I'm here with two esteemed colleagues who are doctors. I'm en route on my journey. So, Jensy Acosta, I identify as an Afro-Latino. My parents are from the Dominican Republic. And so my mother is what would be considered a white Latina from Spanish descent. And then my father is a Black Latino that has African descent. And so a lot of people ask me if I'm mixed, Black and white. I say, yes, genetically, pero hablo español. And so that's just what makes up Jensy. I think one unique thing about me is that when I was a student at NIAG, my professors would always say, Jensy, you have to choose either the church or academia. And my reply was, why? And this is why I'm here.
Okay, I'll go next. Dr. Anna's busy with Charlie, my little friend. So I am Dr. Antoinette Gines-Rivera, but I go by Dr. Toni. No, it's Toni. Dr. Toni. And the reason why I do that is because when I became a PhDer, it was so uncomfortable for me to even own that title. And I remember reading research that said that it's called the imposter syndrome. Whenever you get any terminal degree, you're gonna automatically feel like an imposter, like, oh my God, did I really do that? I don't know, I can't. So I found a middle ground and I just said, well, if Dr. Phil can do it, then I can do it. I'll just go by Dr. Toni. And I've loved it ever since. It makes the students comfortable, without having to get all that seriousness all up into this academia world. But so I am the dean of and the program director of Alliance Graduate School of Counseling. And I also run the Masters in Mental Health Counseling under that umbrella. I've just entered my 4th year It's been difficult. And, you know, when you ask for something unique about oneself, it's so funny how I've been really talking about this little thread of conversation recently. Maybe I had 3 conversations leading me to say that I never, ever aspired for where I am and what I do, ever. I will definitely give God all the glory because everything he has placed on my lap has come from him. So when I think about myself coming from, an impoverished single parent home, and I mean poor, you know, I can't really say that that's what catapulted me into this at all. I never had that, and I never had aspiration, but I always had an open heart for whatever God wanted to do with me. And here I am, you know. So I find that to be unique because in this world of academia, that's what people do. They strive, they climb that ladder, and there's nothing wrong with that. That just isn't my story. And I am absolutely quite surprised every time God does something new with my life, my degree, my credentials, and I'm so grateful. And I love humor. That is like the most important thing in my life. God, family, and humor. Okay, that's it. Your turn, Dr. Anna.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, my son needed something. You guys can hear me okay? Okay. So, Dr. Anna Flores Locke, I am an assistant professor with Dr. Toni's program in mental health counseling, and I'm actually core faculty now for the online students. And so unlike Dr. Toni coming from an impoverished background, I actually came from a more working class, middle class background. And now I married into more affluence. So I have financial privilege. I have skin color privilege. I have white skin. I'm Puerto Rican. I identify as Latina. And so my story was one of those where from birth. So my story would be, my dad said, when you were born, you were the only baby I saw that pulled the wires in the hospital, like some hospital wires. I pulled them. And he said, I knew you were going to take over this world. Like, I knew you were going to be something big. And so I knew from birth, I guess, according to my dad, but for me from college, that I would be a professor and have a doctorate. That was something I aspired to. And what I also knew was that I was going to do that and have a family. And so what makes me unique is I'm a twin mom. I have almost 8-year-old boy-girl twins. And thanks to Dr. Toni and thanks to God bringing me from Chicago to New Jersey to work in New York City with Nyack College, I've been able to have the balance where my kids are part of the work I do, and it's not separate. Like Dr. Toni teased, my Charlie, you know, and Alejandra's my daughter. And from my first interview with her, she asked, how are your twins? And I was like, whoa, you're asking me about my twins? You know, I came from a secular world where you don't talk about kids in the professional world, you know? So that was wonderful for me. So I was able to achieve that, you know, being able to have a family and have a thriving career. I also am the owner of Charlandra Counseling Services in New Jersey, and I specialize in infertility and postpartum depression and anxiety. And and another unique thing about me is I like country line dancing. And thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's amazing how much you learn in an exchange like that. Now I have more information. Thank you guys so much.